Check one, check
Dear
one, two,
students,
three.
we request all of you to please be seated.
We would really request the crowd to please be seated. You'll have your time, but as of now, we request you to please be seated. Also requesting everyone to please be seated and be safe while you're at it. Yes, sit down.
You can definitely give them a round of applause. You can clap as hard as you can. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Christ University. What an energy it is. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to each one of you present here, and a warm welcome to the 64th Annual NASA Convention. And what an energy, Christ University. Give yourselves a round of applause.
I am Radhata Rana, as well as this is...
Hi, everybody. Well, I'm proud to be a Christite. This is MC Abbas.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to one and all. I cannot tell you how excited am I to be here. But before I begin, you just saw an immaculate performance right in front of you called Sringari Melam. It's a variety of traditional orchestra, which is an integral part of many festivals in Kerala. The rhythmic beats and fascinating progression induces the listeners to move their body and tilt their heads to the rhythm of the orchestra. But before we begin, a warm welcome to all our guests, and thank you for your time and your presence. Here we are welcoming each and everyone to the NASA, the National Association of Students of Architecture, which is the largest architectural students' body in the world, with over 300 colleges, with participation from other student bodies and colleges in India and across the globe. NASA India is an autonomous, non-profitable, non-political, non-religious, and democratic body for the undergraduate students of architecture in India. The objective of the organization is to create a platform for architecture students to learn, interact, and grow, and yet it has been growing over the past 64 years with 300 plus colleges and over 66,000 plus students.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, give a round of applause for NASA India, everybody. Well, now I'm supposed to introduce about the Christ University. Tell me, dear students, do we even need an introduction? But we need to, because this is an event where we celebrate the 64th NASA Convention indeed. So, ladies and gentlemen, the School of Architecture, Christ University, is pleased to host the 64th iteration of the 4-day convention. Since its inception in the year 2017, the School of Architecture has evolved within its academic pursuit and followed the trail of excellence set by the institution of Christ University. It has been designed to transform students by building their creative edge and fostering empathy in regard to giving back to the community. And of course, established amidst the finest of ambience of greenery, world-class infrastructure, the campus provides for a holistic education.
I would now like to request our following guests to please come upon the stage to light the lamp.
May I first invite our Honorable Vice Chancellor. Please welcome Colonel Dr. Father Abraham VM to please join us for the lighting of the lamp.
I would request President, Council of Architecture, Architect Abib Khan, to please join the stage.
I'd also like to request our keynote speaker, Architect Sanjay Moheji, to please join us.
Calling Director, School of Engineering and Architecture, Dr. Father Benny Thomas.
I'd now like to invite Honorable Joint Secretary, Indian Institute of Architects and Principal Architect, Kumar Group Architect Leena Kumar, to please join us on stage.
Requesting Mr. Pankaj Thakur, President SO Cham Gem, to please join us on the stage.
I'd also like to invite the Dean of School of Engineering and Architecture, Dr. Ivan Jose, to please join us.
Requesting HOD, School of Architecture, Dr. Anita Susilan, to please join us.
May I now request Ms. Manugna to please join us, the National President, NASA India.
Calling Mr. Anurag Gautam, Secretary of NASA India, to please join us on the stage.
I'd also like to welcome Joel Vijan, the ANC Coordinator, to please join us on stage.
Calling Sheena Mendonça, Unit Secretary, to please join us on the stage.
I'd also like to request Shri Jugnu Baroiji, the Student Alumni Association President, to please join us on stage. I'd also like to request the Faculty Coordinator, Dr. Ajay Chandran, to please escort all our dignitaries on stage.
This will now shall be accompanied by Advisor NASA India, Mr. Simarjeet Nagpal,
National Treasurer Chaitanya Gajbir,
National Vice President Tarun Krishna,
ANC Coordinator, 64th Annual NASA Convention, Joel Vijan.
Unit Designee Dipesh Kumar.
Treasurer, Joel Sebastian.
I request everybody to please rise during the lamp lighting ceremony. Thank you. Yes.
Purify my heart, let me be as gold and precious silver. Purify my heart, let me be as gold, pure gold, refined as fire. My heart's one desire, it is to be holy, set apart for you, Lord. I want to be holy, set apart for you, my Master. I'm ready to do your will. Purify my heart, cleanse me from within, and make me holy. Purify my heart, cleanse me from my sin, deep within, refine as fire. My heart's one desire, it is to be holy, set apart for you, Lord. I want to be holy, set apart for you, my Master. I'm ready to do your will.
Thank you so much. I request the guests as well as the audience to please take your seats.
May now invite Sheena Mendonça, the Unit Secretary, for the welcome speech.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Sheena Mendonça, Z561, NASA Unit Secretary. It is my privilege to stand before such an august gathering this joyous evening. On behalf of Christ deemed to be University, School of Architecture, and the National Association of Students of Architecture, India, I welcome all of you to the 64th year annual NASA Convention. We are honored to host you at the much-awaited convention. Our diligent team here at School of Architecture, Christ, along with the NASA Executive Council, has put their heart, soul, and ingenuity into the swift planning and execution of this convention. With all the challenges that we had thrown at us the past couple of years due to the pandemic, may this convention be the much-needed rejuvenator for our vibrant student architecture community. It is my privilege to introduce to you the President of the function, Colonel Dr. Father Abraham VM. Father Abraham has proven credentials in both academic and administrative ends of education. He has obtained his PhD in mathematics from Bangalore University in the area of graph theory. An accomplished scholar, Father has significant publications and figures on the editorial board of reputed journals. Recently, he has been conferred the honorary rank of Colonel Commandant in the NCC by the Ministry of Defense, India. On behalf of School of Architecture, Christ deemed to be University, I welcome Father to the inaugural function. I now request Dr. Ivan Jose, Dean, School of Engineering and School of Architecture, to felicitate Father with a bouquet. It is my honor to now introduce to you the chief guest of today, Architect Habib Khan, President, Council of Architecture. Mr. Habib Khan graduated in architecture as a gold medalist from VNIT in 1987, and he did his master's in architectural design in 1988 from the University of Illinois. In 1991, he started his practice in India. Mr. Habib was awarded the JIIA Best Interior Design Award by the Indian Institute of Architects in 1998 and the IIA-KAFF Young Architects Award in 2000. I invite Dr. Father Benny Thomas, Director, Faculty of Engineering and School of Architecture, Christ, to welcome Architect Habib Khan with a bouquet. Among our esteemed guests today, we have Architect Leena Kumar, Joint Secretary, Indian Institute of Architects. Architect Leena Kumar has practiced architecture since 1990 with her firm Kumar Consultants. Architect Leena has a keen interest in community building and has collaborated with the Mysore Urban Development Authority to design spaces for the economically weaker sections in Mysore. She has also worked with the Annaswamy Mudaliar General Hospital to provide healthcare facilities to the poorer sections of the society. Her works have been published in several newspapers and magazines. I invite Dr. Anita Sushilan, Head of Department, School of Architecture, Christ, to present Leena Ma'am with a bouquet. And now, introducing to you our esteemed keynote speaker of the day, Architect Sanjay Mohe. Mr. Mohe was born and brought up in Mumbai, with the seed of architecture sowed in him early in life. An enigmatic personality, he graduated in architecture from Sir J.J. College of Architecture in 1976 and went on to work with the likes of architect Charles Correa. His firm, Mindspace, strives towards a more sustainable approach towards architecture, and their ideals revolve around the 5 elements of nature. I now invite Dr. Ajay Chandran CK, Annual NASA Convention Faculty Coordinator, to welcome today's honorable keynote speaker, Architect Sanjay Mohi. It is my privilege to introduce to you our honorable guest, Mr. Pankaj Darkar, President, Asochem GEM. Mr. Pankaj Darkar, the director of Pankaj Darkar Associates, is passionately involved in providing innovative and energy-efficient design solutions for building services for more than 3 decades. Mr. Pankaj Darkar is an engineering graduate with a distinction and specialization in air conditioning and refrigeration from SGSITS Indore. He is an active member of ISHRE, and the Indian Green Building Congress. Mr. Pankaj Darkar has published several articles in journals and presented papers at conferences. I now invite Ms. Manogna Malampati, NASA President, to welcome Mr. Darkar with a bouquet. For us delegates at this 64th Annual NASA Convention, it is an honor to have these legends and stalwarts of architecture. The theme of this year is grassroots, and these luminaries are among those who have not only defined for us the term grassroots, they actually walk the talk through their creations. You are all our heroes, whom we would want to emulate as we look forward to working and learning from your experience once we graduate. I now welcome the NASA Council, Ms. Manogna Malampati, President, NASA India, Mr. Simarjeet Nagpal, Advisor, Mr. Anurag Gautam, Secretary, Mr. Chaitanya Gajbie, Treasurer, Ms. Devanshi Thakuria, Public Relations, Ms. Abhinaya Ravichandran Prema, Events Head, the Zonal Presidents, Divyansh Gupta, Marika Rajesh, Sarang Raj Guru, Shruti Mishra, Mohammad Uzair Siddiqui, and Eric Allen. I also welcome our ANC Coordinator, Mr. Joel V. Vijan, our Unit Designee, Christ University, Mr. Dipesh Kumar, and our host treasurer, Mr. Joel Sebastian. I would also wish to extend a warm welcome to all of you, my dear faculty, School of Architecture, Christ, my fellow unit secretaries, unit designees, and all your colleges that have traveled from all around the nation. Let us make some cherishable memories. Here's to a spectacular 64th with us.
Thank you, Sheena. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, when you do the most common things in life in the most uncommon way, you command the attention of the world. With great respect and ado, let me please welcome an inspiration par excellence, a visionary for the presidential address. May I please request Honorable Vice Chancellor, Colonel Dr. Father Abraham VM, to please come for the presidential address.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Architect Abhi Khan, President, Council of Architecture, Architect Leena Kumar, Joint Honorary Secretary, Indian Institute of Architects, Senior Architect Sanjay Mohi, National Awardee, Dr. Pankaj Thakur, President, Asochem GEM, Dr. Father Benny Thomas, Director, School of Architecture, Christ University. Dr. Ivan Joss, Dean, School of Engineering and Technology and School of Architecture, Christ University. Dr. Anita Sushilan, the Head of the Department of School of Architecture, Christ University. Dr. Ajay Chandran, Faculty Coordinator, 64th Year ANC. Mr. Yugunu Broy, President of the Christ University Alumni Association. Ms. Manokna Malempati, President, NASA India. The illustrious dignitaries, Executive Council of NASA, unit secretaries, unit designees, delegates, faculty, and my dear students, and my dear Christites. I welcome you to the 64th Annual NASA Convention hosted by the School of Architecture in this Warden Christ University, Kengeri campus, Bangalore. The School of Architecture, from its inception, has displayed responsible design thinking, cultural diversity, and social equity in its curriculum as well as structure. I am sure it is this expansive quality that paved the way for the school being given the honor of hosting the 64th Annual NASA Convention with over 4,600 delegates from around the country. I understand that the National Association of Students of Architecture, NASA India, is the largest architectural student body in the world, and those I see in front of me are the future of architecture. Indeed, a great moment of joy and honor. I must say, I was observing with interest and frenetic activities and the months of planning and organizing the School of Architecture and NASA India put in to enable this platform, this convention for you to interact with the industry resources, practitioners, scholars, academics, policymakers, and various allied resources in the domain of architecture. What actually got my interest is the theme, which spoke volumes about the inherent professionalism and aspiration of this year's convention and the association itself, grassroots. Only an ethical and integrated association can think of revisiting the grassroots in its 64th year. Congratulations to NASA India and the Christ School of Architecture Organizing Committee under the able guidance of Dr. Anita Sushilan and Dr. Ajay Chandran for this extraordinary congregation and the 4-day deliberations. I am no architect, but a professor of mathematics. However, as an administrator, I have sanctioned buildings and their constructions on campus. Currently, we have 5 campuses across India, and all constructions necessarily follow the Christ University design philosophy of sustainable green architecture, vernacular construction material, ergonomic furniture, and cultural rootedness. I suppose the grassroots of your practice is thinking of affordable shelter or homes for all citizens of India, as opposed to the luxury residence architecture, which seems to dominate real estate. The grassroots of the discipline would be revisiting architectural history of the East and the West to get an aspirational blueprint to go futuristic. To quote architect Norman Foster, as an architect, you design for the present with an awareness of the past for a future which is essentially unknown. I will admit that my first encounter with an architectural artifact was in my catechism class. We were told about the Tower of Babel. I did not at that time know the significance of that structure. Now I understand that when talking about architectural history of the West in chronological order, one usually starts from the Ziggurat and the Tower of Babel has been associated with a ziggurat dedicated to the Mesopotamian god Marduk. The massive terraced structures built in Mesopotamia for ritual purposes were the predecessors of the pyramids in Egypt, as well as other Mesoamerican architecture. Ancient builders had a profound understanding of human responses to environmental conditions and physical needs. In the East, especially India, we have seen the early Harappan settlements to Buddhist stupas to rock-cut architecture, temple architecture, Indo-Islamic architecture, British Indo-Saracenic architecture, Dravidian architecture, vernacular architecture, or contemporary postmodern architecture. Indian architecture is rooted in its history, culture, and religion. I was reading a book and thought I should share something connected to architecture in that book here with you. The book is titled Fluid, the approach applied by geniuses over centuries, published in 2018. The author is Ashish Jaiswal, who has a PhD in education from the University of Oxford and is currently an associate fellow at the Oxford Center of Higher Education Policy Studies. In this book, he makes a fascinating observation. I am sure as students of architecture, you are familiar with De Architectura, a treatise on architecture written by the Roman architect and military engineer Marcus Vitruvius Pollio, considered to be a seminal book on architecture even today. One of Leonardo da Vinci's best-known drawings, the Vitruvian Man, is based on the principles of body proportions developed by Vitruvius in the first chapter of Book 3 on symmetry in temples and in the human body. The book Fluid claims that Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man has its origins in India. He brings into the debate an ancient Indian text called Vishnu Dharmotharam Puranam. It is fascinating to note that the Puranam contains measurements of a perfectly proportionate human body. That is, it has an equivalent of the Vitruvian Man that goes by the name of Hans Purish. There were translations of the Vishnu Dharmotharam Puranam, including the one from the famous historian Stella Crumrish. However, the translations never brought up Vitruvius or De Architectura in their commentaries. What I wanted to leave with you is this thought that whether we are in a classroom or in the outside world, we are always forced to choose who we are. Always expected to walk towards a fixed goal. Never be uncertain, never fail, or never alter our course. We are either artists or scientists or businessmen. Fluid shatters this myth by arguing that great minds who have changed the fate of humankind are actually the ones who failed, faltered, and at the same time remained mentally eclectic. They were fluid like Leonardo da Vinci, C.V. Raman, Steve Jobs, Charles Darwin, and other geniuses, and being fluid like them could be our biggest winning strategy for world-class innovations, groundbreaking solutions, and game-changing ideas. As practitioners, we know that architecture can be portrayed very beautifully as art, something that is frozen in time and stands testimony to a vast number of philosophies, beliefs, eras, and lifestyles. It can be a bold statement representing the social fabric, economy, status, and power. Let us remember that while metropolises are continuously expanding, the earth itself is not getting any bigger. The growth has a huge impact to the environment because of the process of developing new habitats for our communities constantly requires a huge chunk of our natural resources. The earth is not an unlimited well that can replenish itself to match the pace of modernization. Let us become sustainable architects, producing smart designs and use available technologies to ensure that our structures generate minimal harmful effects to the ecosystem and the communities. I wish the convention all success and productive deliberations and hope you arrive at a blueprint that is formatis utilitas venusitatis for the future. I would like to congratulate the student body of NASA, the powerful body. You took initiative to organize this program in Christ University campus. You are going into details, you are meticulously planning everything, and you are doing a wonderful show in this campus. My heartiest congratulations to each and every one of the NASA officials and all the participants. I wish you a nice time in Christ University Kangeri campus. Wishing you all the very best. I remain. Thank you.
Check. Thank you so much, Father Abraham. Next up, I would like to request Architect Habib Khan, President, Council of Architecture, to give the inaugural speech.
Good evening, all of you. Dignitaries on the dais, off the dais, ladies and gentlemen, and most importantly, future architects of our country, a very good evening to all of you. Few decades ago, I was on the other side, and we were compelled to attend such formal functions. And I know I'm standing between your fun, dance, masti, and of course, intoxication, and listening to Sanjay's talk. I'm sure you'll love it, and when you know him as a person, you'll love him more. I've attended all the 5 years NASA conventions. First was Delhi, Trivandrum, Kharagpur, Hyderabad, and Chennai. And I am thankful to NASA that NASA convention has given me my wife, the love of my life. And it was, I know many of you will also probably find your life partners here. Their small little gestures, eye movements at that time. Now things have changed and advanced much more. You guys can move hand in hand and, embracing each other. We were not allowed to do that in our times. And I'm very happy that NASA is in 64th year of its edition, but there was a small blemish in between. A few years before I joined architecture, I think in 1979 or so, there were no NASA conventions. NASA was dying a death. My ex-partner, Mr. Ahuja, who was the NASA president at that time, revived NASA, and I am very happy and proud to say that my alma mater, which is VRC at that time, now VNIT Nagpur, revived NASA, and NASA is where it is today. We were a handful of institutions at that time. When I joined about 16, and then when I passed out about 30. And it was not as big a convention as this. So we were able to see girls, and girls were able to see boys in a much better and a proper fashion than probably what you do these days. So I'll keep my speech, formal speech, as short as possible so that you guys can get on with the main purpose that you've come here for. And before I say anything else, I'm very happy to see a lady as a president of NASA. I think I know a girl from Nagpur, Samriddhi, who was also the president of NASA. And, but we did a survey very recently, last year, in the Council of Architecture, and we found out that 45% are architects, are women architects. 45% at the moment are women architects. And with the number of students enrolled in our institutions at the moment, in the next 5 years, lady architects would be 63% of our fraternity. But the problem is 54% of the lady architects are doing nothing or are doing nothing to do with architecture. And that is a matter of concern. If the current trends of the statistical data that we have with us, the percentage will increase. So we need to find out, and you being the lady president and so many lady students, girl students, lady architects sitting here, we need to really work on this and find out what ails women in architecture. And to do this, we have started a Women in Architecture wing in the Council of Architecture, where we're doing extensive research and trying to find out and trying to augment and handhold those ladies who are probably unable to work or come into profession for various reasons known to them. Council of Architecture, as you all know probably, is a regulatory authority under the Ministry of Education, Government of India, and we regulate architectural profession and architectural education, which basically means that we ensure that you get proper quality of education, proper infrastructure while you're a student, and when you graduate as an architect, you get a better ethical and a smoother professional life as architects. And we have made a lot of policy changes in the council. We have made it more transparent, more committed, more dedicated, and more focus-oriented towards our profession. And all these policies that we have implemented in the last 3 years are basically for you guys, because you are the future of our country. You are the future architects. Whatever hard work that we're doing at regulatory authorities with the government, it is basically for improving the quality of life of our future professionals, which I hope you will understand when you graduate and become architects. The pandemic was a blur in between, was a blemish in between, and then the ensuing lockdowns and so on and on. And that has resulted into, a total different kind of mental setup that we all have had. We were forced to look at life that we were leading and the quality of life that we were leading. I've been attending almost 100 odd functions like this, or speeches or inaugural functions or workshops and conferences online during the last 2 years, but I was missing the human touch, the glare in the eyes, the glint in the eyes, the warmth of a hug and a handshake. So this is what I am really enjoying with 4,500 plus delegates here today. Is the largest gathering that I am seeing after the pandemic. And 3 cheers to the human race for being so resilient. A big round of applause for all of us to have come out. But along with that, a moment of sadness and condolences for all those fellow citizens whom we have lost to the pandemic. I hope you will remember all of them and the tough time that we have gone through. Our profession is going through a tough time. And I'm telling you this because you are going to be future professionals. Turbulent times because of the sluggish economy, world economy, international economy all over, and also the pandemic and the subsequent lockdowns and the collapse of the international economy. The profession is rapidly transiting into a corporate framework. No longer is the status of an iconic architect who will probably establish himself overnight. It's day of specialization, day of cooperation, corporation, and joint ventures. And you need to learn how to work ahead with incorporating various disciplines that we all have, the MEPs, the other engineers, other policymakers, and so on and on. Unless you start working in a corporate structure and in a cooperative framework, probably you will find it difficult and going will get tough. Architects make an intangible contribution to the quality of life of our fellow citizens, which the society does not acknowledge or recognize. A medical profession like a doctor makes a tangible contribution. You're not well, you go to a doctor, you get treated, and you're fine. So this tangible contribution is recognized by the society, while the intangible contribution which an architect makes for the fellow citizens, for improving the quality of life goes unrecognized. And this is the biggest challenge that we all architects and students of architecture will face when you will become professionals, how to increase the awareness and importance of architecture in society. We talk in conferences like these, conclaves, festivals like these, within our own community, but there's a need to reach out to people outside our fraternity and tell them the importance of architecture and tell them the importance of architects in the society, to make them understand that we define and determine the quality of life that they live. You live in buildings designed by architects, you work in buildings designed by architects, and so on and on. And that is the biggest concern of today, where we need to reach out to society. So as young students, I am sure in your schools there are a lot of initiatives which are being taken to reach out to society and increase the awareness of architecture. If not, then please do tell your institutes, please do some contribution at your own end to increase the awareness of architecture in society. One word of advice, which as a senior professional, as the president of the council, that you need to excel in what you're doing. In the future, only excellence will count, only quality will matter. And that is a very important aspect of your life. As a student, as an architect, you will need to excel. You will need to love what you're doing. You need to be committed to what you're doing. And you will tell me, and a lot of people blame me and blame the council, because these packages, the salary packages that you get after you graduate are less than the driver of the office that you work in. And that is a matter of concern that we all professionals should understand and try to collectively work towards improving the status of our young graduates and young, fresh professionals. But this is a vicious circle. Architects do not charge the fees that they should demand, and they do not give the quality of work that is expected of an architectural firm, of an architect, and it's a vicious circle. Because you don't demand good fees, because you not get good fees, because you don't give good quality of work, you cannot pay your employees, you cannot have better offices and better infrastructure. So this is a circle that you as professionals, future professionals of this country, should break and should try to establish credentials and a credible practice henceforth. We are very small in numbers, minority, 150,000 architects and 110,000 architects active, while there are more than 1 lakh engineers graduating. We need to stay united. We need to stay cohesively in a very cohesive group. And that will happen when we believe in our regulatory authorities, in our institutions, when we believe in our professional institutions. The Indian Institute of Architects is a professional institute, and which I exhort you to become members of the Indian Institute of Architects, not because we want to increase the membership, but because we want to improve our profession, and we want to improve the quality of our profession. By being members of a professional institute, you have to give back to society what the society has given to you. We are a very volatile group of architects, very expressive, very volatile, very expressive. We do not hesitate to express our opinion in social media, in public. We do not hesitate to pull down pants of our fellow professionals in public. We wash our dirty linen in public. Have you ever seen any other profession doing that? Probably you will never come across. You visit our social media handles. Council of Architecture for the first time is on the social media handles. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Telegram, so many social media handles. Go and find out what I am saying. We need to be responsible. We need to be responsible, and we need to believe in our organizations, professional and regulatory authorities, to understand, to strengthen our profession, not to strengthen any particular person or an organization, but to strengthen our profession and future professionals. And one more important thing, I'm sure I told you specialization is the key of the future. You need to specialize, you need to learn to be a specialist. Just being a plain graduate will not give you returns, will not give you a better professional life. You need to specialize. And most of us, you will be surprised to know that 78,000 students go out of our country for post-graduation and specialization, multiplied by an average of about 20 lakhs a year. And imagine the currency that we are losing. We need to augment our postgraduate institutions, and we need to come back to our country. I don't know if you know how subsidized education is in our country these days. And you need to come back and give back to your country. You have to help the country become a world leader, Vishwaguru as the government is calling. You have to come back and contribute. From wherever you go to learn And we've just recently signed, I'm just adding last minute issue, we've just signed a memorandum of understanding with the SEP, Sports Services Export Promotion Council of India, wherein we are facilitating export and import of architectural services. And you will be surprised to know that the next export, the biggest export that is going to happen in the next 5 years is the Indian brain, if you understand what I'm saying. We are already exporting our talent to countries. We are the only country in the world with a positive talent growth rate. And other countries, especially the European countries and the American continent, is negative talent growth. I won't want to elaborate, you please go and find out what it means. But India is going to be the largest talent exporter in the world. And I am also happy to say that architects are contributing about 16% to this talent. And this talent will go a long way in not only building India, but building yourself as professionals. And for that, excellence and quality will have to be stressed upon. I'm very happy to be here amongst all of you, and it has given me those memories of those days back. And I hope you will enjoy your time here. Apart from your learning and deliberations and workshops that you all will have, I am thankful to Christ University and the management of the Christ University School of Architecture as well for hosting me and making my stay absolutely comfortable and wonderful. So enjoy, have fun. That is what you're here for. Thank you and good night.
Thank you very much, Mr. Habib Khan. Always a pleasure to have you here with us, sir. With that, I'd now like to invite the HOD School of Architecture, Christ University. Please welcome to address the gathering, Dr. Anita Susilan. With a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening, all. Dear Christites, can I hear you? Please put your hands together. So let us cheer and welcome all our distinguished guests on the dais, all the NASA delegates, all the faculty members, all the professionals from architecture and allied areas present here to this annual NASA Convention 2022. Let's put our hands together. All the Christites, please welcome all. Thank you. Today I thought I'll talk about friendship because NASA, this particular convention also provides a beautiful forum for new friendship. So I thought let me talk about friendship. Friendships are of different kind. There are weak friendships, there are strong friendships. There are weaker ties, there are stronger ties. Here is a note from Ian Leslie. He is a British journalist, speaker, and author of many books on human behavior. Here it goes, I'm quoting from one of his published works, which he has written during the pandemic. Quoting, "For nearly 10 years, I have spent my Monday mornings attending rehearsals for my amateur choir. Mondays are not my favorite day. I'm sure everyone would have a favorite day and not a favorite day. For Ian, Mondays are not my favorite day, and I often arrive in the class in a bad mood. But by the end of the rehearsal, I usually feel energized. The singing does me good. So do the people. With few exceptions, I wouldn't describe my fellow choir members as close friends. Most of them I barely know at all. We exchange brief chats, smiles, and that's it. But that's enough for me to come away feeling a little better about the world." He writes during the lockdown. There is no choir practice now, and won't be for a long time. I miss it. In lockdown, I don't feel short on affection or emotional support at home, but I do feel short of friendly faces and casual conversations. And I'm sure NASA is a great forum for these casual conversations. Am I right? Another way of putting it is that I miss my weak ties or my weak friendship, which is just a hi, bye, and a chat and a smile. But it matters a lot in our lives. This reminds me of one of the papers that strength of weak ties This is a very scholarly paper written by Mark Granovetter of Stanford University. Actually, we depend on friendly outsiders to bring us new opportunities, and we need to obtain that during this forum. This is a great convention. It's a great forum to obtain that. It is much beyond our immediate circles, which is the strong ties which we have with our families and close friends. So, more of those acquaintances we have, the better. The campus has been reformatted. This particular campus has been reformatted. I wouldn't say it is redesigned. It has been reformatted in order to generate these serendipitous or very surprising encounters. I'm sure my students would agree with me, because we do a lot of time problems on encounters. These serendipitous encounters are very important in an institution, and these meetings allow more acquaintances amongst delegates, professionals from different schools and organizations. We want you to bump into each other, participate in activities, grab a coffee, or shoot the breeze. We truly believe in the power of these seemingly random conversations to fire up creativity. In ANC 2022, we envision to mobilize this dynamism of each event, each space, and the time that we spend together in the campus, feed into grand new schemes of thought for the built realm. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Dr. Anita Suseelan. Up next, I would request Ms. Manogna Malepati, National President, NASA India, to share a few words.
A very good evening, everyone. It is indeed a great pleasure for me to invite you all and welcome you all to the annual NASA convention of the 64th year on behalf of the 64th Council of NASA India. Welcome to Bengaluru, welcome to Christ University, welcome to the annual NASA convention. Hashtag 64th with us. Let me start off by telling every architect I met till date, I haven't had a conversation without them talking about NASA India back down their memory lane. That is how much NASA India means for every student during their architecture studies. The National Association of Students of Architecture, NASA India, has been an integral part of academic life of every architecture student associated with it, through a relationship that's formed through various activities of the association. NASA India aims to nurture the holistic growth of its students through every step of their academic life, with a plethora of means to learn from workshops, programs, trophies, talks, events, and more. The much-awaited annual NASA convention holds a very close place in hearts of all its stakeholders. With more than 4,000 plus students that have gathered here from across the country, the faculties that have accompanied them, the supportive management, the associated colleges, the esteemed keynote speakers, the workshop tutors, our jurors, our students, our collaborators, and our sponsors, the management, the host colleges, who have contributed their unconditional support and resources. I'd also like to thank the alumni without whom the association wouldn't have been what it is today. I'd also like to acknowledge my council members, Divyansh Gupta, Zonal President, Zone 1, Marika Rajesh, Zonal President, Zone 2, Sarang Rajguru, Zonal President, Zone 3, Shruti Mishra, Zonal President, Zone 4, Uzair, Zonal President, Zone 5, Eric Allen, Zonal President, Zone 5, Events Head, Abhinaya Ramchandran, Devanshi Thakuria, Public Relations, Treasurer, Chaitanya Gajbie, Vice President, Tarun Krishna, Anurag Gautam, National Secretary, Abdus and Akhil, Treasurer Designees, and the National Advisor, Simarjeet, without whom the 64th year of NASA India wouldn't have been the same as it is, even after the pandemic hit us. We all have something to give to the association, and association in return gives a multitude to take back. NASA India is just not an organization, but a family indeed, a huge family over 60,000 students. I welcome you to take pride that this is your association. Each one of us is a building block that upholds its legacy, the 64-year-old legacy that has shaped and formed over years with all student leaders across the country. This is your association, this is your convention, and I hope you cherish every moment of it and have something valuable that you take back in return. Once again, welcome to the 64th Annual NASA Convention. Thank you.
Well, certainly, ladies and gentlemen, I was absolutely enthralled to know that a woman president of the NASA India. Here's to woman power, and let's give them a huge round of applause. जैसे कहते हैं कि गुलिस्तां से गुल चुनने को दिल करता है, बना के ख्वाब तुम्हें बुनने को दिल करता है, देखने को और भी यूनिवर्सिटीज़ हैं इस जहां में, लेकिन बस तुम ही हो क्राइस्ट यूनिवर्सिटी जिसको सुनने को दिल करता है. With that, ladies and gentlemen, let me take this honor and invite on stage NASA India National Secretary, Mr. Anurag Gautam, to please address the gathering. Welcome with a grand round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, Anurag Gautam.
Good evening, respected guests, Christ University management, faculty, fathers, NASA India Council members, and all of our students. Welcome to 64th year annual NASA convention. Before I move forward, I would just like you all to have a big round of applause for all of you, because the S in NASA stands for students, and that is the root case which we are working on. So I'd like you all to have a big round of applause for yourself. I'd like to thank School of Architecture, Christ Deemed to be University, Kengeri campus for hosting the 64th year annual NASA convention. NASA India is actually a name which is familiar to our entire architecture fraternity, and it is the association of opportunities, learnings, innovations, and unique cultures. It is not just a name, it's an emotion for all of us. And today, I feel extremely happy because I can see that emotion through you all. Your presence here today proved that the association is fulfilling its purpose of connecting the students of architecture. Association has changed a lot from its beginning. We started a seed in 1957, which has now grown into a tree. And I feel very proud and very confident about how we are growing all together. We all know India is a country of varied cultures, people, and vernacular elements, which are all coexisting together. Similarly, NASA India is an organization which have people from different cultures, students from all around India, who all are working together to grow with each other, to learn with each other, and to develop holistically. The last 2 years of pandemic have really gave us the idea of how important is the connectivity. And today here, having the annual NASA convention after 2 years really make me very emotionally that you all should be, just like that, I was mentioning that after 2 years of the pandemic, the convention has been begun, and I would like you all to give a big round of applause for all of you and the Christ University campus for hosting the annual NASA convention. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Anurag. Definitely a big round of applause for all the students who've taken time and be here. Next, I would like to request Mr. Simarjeet Nagpal, National Advisor, NASA India, to share a few words. Thank you.
All right, Zone 5, make some noise. Now the noise should be 6 times this, and Bangalore should know that we are here. NASA India, make some noise. All right, great to have you all here. This convention would mark the end of 64th year and we'll be kick-starting 65th year on the 5th day. And that will be 10 years down the line, we'll be celebrating our 75th year. So we are all trying to plan out the next 10 years and how we imagine the association and be connected with each other, be connected with the globe, and aspire to fulfill what our dreams are and what the profession requires. The next 10 years are not only going to be important for us because we are going to go into the profession, but because of climate change and the effects that it will have. So when we plan our 10 years, we have to keep into consideration our requirements, the requirements of the human race as a whole, the requirements of the nature, and we will need all stakeholders to be involved in the decision making. All of us are here, all of us who are not here, NASA graduates on the dais, NASA graduates not on the dais, NASA graduates who are not here. All of us need to communicate, talk, discuss, and figure out what we need to do 10 years down the line and what we want to be 10 years down the line. The first architectural joke that I ever read was in 9th standard in the Indian Arc of 1989. My dad had saved it, so I got a hold of it, I was flipping through, and on the last page there was a comic strip of Corbusier, and it first had Corbusier standing on a bus stop and it said Corbus is here, and then it had a guy with an alcohol bottle and it said Corbus here, and then it was a guy sleeping on his drafting table and it said Corbus sleeps here. So I didn't know what NASA was or Indian Arc was, but I laughed at it and I enjoyed it. So we've got humor back in the Indian Arc, which we are going to release. So we hope that the architectural humor continues to be. And after very, very, very long 2.5 years, I'm over that. Let's get this thing started and welcome back home.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the most awaited moment this evening, we are going to launch the Indian Arch launch, for which I'd like to invite Mr. Tarun Krishna, the Vice President of NASA India, to take over the launch of NASA India's annual magazine.
Good evening to the August students present here. It's good to see all of you 2 years after seeing an offline convention. And as a lot of people told on the stage here, NASA has always been giving people than taking much. And yeah, so we are here for the launch of Indian Arc magazine, the 35th edition of Indian Arc. And for a change, we've diverted our entire chapter content not to be mainstream architecture, but what other things an architect can do. And that's what should be the talk of the art. And we shouldn't really limit our boundaries. And I would also say that the world is our territory and we're going bigger and better every year. Can I have the current council, Divyansh Gupta, ZP1, Sarang Rajguru, Marika Rajesh, Shruti Mishra, Mohammad Uzay Siddiqui, and Eric Allen, along with our events head, Abhinaya RP, and public relations, Devanshi Rakuria. And also, I would like to have the alumni here on stage for the book launch, without whom 64 years of NASA India wouldn't have been possible. Grassroots is our theme, but the alumni are who have been watering those roots all these years. Can we have Arnav Sinha, Aditya Jaiswal, Ayush Bipin, Dinesh Prasad, Lochan Aradhya, and Idris Ahmed Sharif, and all of the other alumni present here.
I'd like to request the alumni from the 50th year, all of you that are present here, a lot of you, take your names, please be on the dais. Please join us for the 35th edition of Indian Arc's launch.
The moment is here for which all of us have been waiting for. Yes, NASA India's annual magazine launch. Well, that would certainly deserve a huge round of applause. Let us see the energy in the audience. May I also like to request Mr. Sanjay Mohe and Mr. Habib Khan to join us for the launch. The round of applause continues, ladies and gentlemen. What a grand spectacle this is.
Check. We're now unwrapping the magazine, NASA India's annual magazine, Indian Arc. Can you all please give them a huge round of applause? We would request everyone to please raise your magazines up high and show it to the crowd and audience. Can we all raise it up high? Show it to the audience. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, NASA India's annual magazine, Indian Arc launch. A huge round of applause once again. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your presence. We request everybody to please take back your seats. I would now like to request Dean Dr. Ivan Joe, School of Engineering and Architecture, to please give the vote of thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to all, and indeed a momentous occasion that we are witnessing today. Sitting in this open air, my memory lane goes back to pre-pandemic days. For those several programs that we would conduct as a part of student conventions and gatherings that we had in past. But I should mention that we have broken all these records, and for the first time ever, we have witnessed NASA convention taking it up to the number of almost 4,000 plus. A big round of applause to the entire student fraternity who's here, who's made it up to this number, 4,000 plus, and I'm told that this is a record-breaking event. To me, it's really a pedagogy fest, and I believe that our students are given a platform to go on a rampant connect with the industries, practitioners, and young entrepreneurs on a socio-economic cultural treat. This is precisely what the National Education Policy is all about, for an integrated hand-on experiential learning. Maybe our recommendations would be to the council that we could also think about this event as an avenue for students to earn credits in a future time in this endeavor as well. It gives me immense pleasure to deliver this vote of thanks for this event for all our esteemed delegates assembled here. Let me first thank the Lord Almighty for having blessed us with a Chancellor, Colonel Dr. Father Abraham VM. Under his leadership, Christ has taken a big leap in research. We are proud to have our university's research scale up to a number which is close to 3,000 Scopus Index research papers till date, and about 100 patents for the academic year 21-22. I believe this is a great achievement as far as the student fraternity is concerned. Let me thank our beloved Vice Chancellor, Colonel Dr. Father Abraham VM, for gracing this occasion, always being supportive for each of these initiatives and for our motivational words. Thank you, Father. Let me extend my sincere gratitude to our chief guest, Architect Abib, President, Council of Architecture, for sharing your vision and inspirational thoughts. Yes, sir, we are looking forward for this event in terms of networking, in terms of getting together with the students, at the same time taking back from here something which can be connected back to the universities. Our acknowledgement to all the architects present here, especially Architect Leena, Joint Honorable Secretary, Indian Institute of Architects, and Architect Pankaj Dharkar, Associate GEM, Architect Sanjay Mohe, keynote speaker for the day. Thank you for taking time from your busy schedule and being part of ANC 2022. Thank you, sir. Dr. Father Benny Thomas, Director, School of Architecture and School of Engineering, has been a visionary leader, helping us to foster in this endeavor of having this connect drawn for this ANC 2022. My sincere appreciations and thanks to Father Benny Thomas. My appreciations and thanks to Father GB, Principal, PU, and Father Soni, Campus Coordinator. Thank you for your constant motivation. No function can take shape without the hardworking leaders. It was the dedication and enthusiasm of our leaders and organizing chairs which made this event a huge success. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to them. NASA Student Council, Ms. Manogna, National President, NASA, Mr. Anurag, National Secretary, NASA, Mr. Simjit, National Advisor, NASA, all the volunteers and representatives from NASA, Christ University School of Architecture, 64th ANC faculty and student coordinators. Conducting the 64th edition of ANCS in such a short time would have been just next to impossible without the zealous effort of our team who has contributed towards this program. Dr. Anita, head of the department, Dr. Ajay, faculty coordinator, ANC, Ms. Sina, unit secretary, Professor Glady. Above and beyond, let's not forget the backbone of 64 ANC, our Department of School of Architecture, students, faculty, non-teaching staff, our staff members, and all the department faculties of Kengeri campus. Needless to say, our frontline battalion, Student Welfare Office, Central Administration from Central Campus, our team members led by Mr. Ivan George, Mr. Rajan, security staff, hostel staff, audiovisuals, media, etc. You've made the inaugural successful. All our student unit heads and unit secretaries, event coordinators, student volunteers, the entire student fraternity, pan-India, extending to the length and breadth of our motherland, India. The backstage team, Team Rita, headed by Dr. Praveen, our sponsors, Ambika Constructions, Lexil, Rent-A-Pub, and Taj Bengaluru. Special mention to our MCs, both present here. Thank you very much for having taken us through this wonderful journey. You did a wonderful job. We're extremely privileged to have our veteran, our alumnus, Mr. Jugnu Oberoi, from the first batch of graduates of Christ University in 1969-1972. Thank you very much, sir, for being present here. My sincere apologies if I've missed out on somebody in this list. My dear friends, you have 3 days. Make the best utilization of the time. Network, collaborate, think of joint programs. It's a lush green campus of 85+ acres. Enjoy yourself amidst this nature. Wishing you all success in this endeavor. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ivan Jose. It's always a pleasure to have you here with us. May I now request our dignitaries to kindly join us off stage so that we could begin with our next set of event. I'd also say that this is going to be something absolutely spectacular. Something which every student of architecture has been